excited to be here today to level set what the VMware Cloud Foundation strategy has been, give a bit about in terms of what has happened since VMware became part of Broadcom. It's been a pretty whirlwind, exciting 1 year. We are just about to complete 1 year as part of the acquisition. So what's gone on from a business strategy perspective, from our offer strategy and route to market. So I level set the stage, and then it's going to be the most interesting part of the Cloud Field Day with my colleagues here, who's going to go deep dive into our VMware Cloud Foundation from a technical perspective. All right. So, and feel free to ask me any questions throughout the presentation, or we can spend some time right after this. All right. So, to start off with, I think the first thing that a lot of our customers and partners that we have talked to over the last year have asked us is, what's different, or what's going to be different, and what's new when VMware became part of Broadcom? So wanted to start off at a high level from a culture and thought process of these two companies. And they are pretty different companies, right? So what VMware brings to the table is a very, very strong history over 2 decades of innovation in the virtualization space, in the software-defined data center space, in the space of security, et cetera, right, as we all know. There's a fast pace of technical innovation that VMware has brought forward, as well as a very broad ecosystem. We've been called the Switzerland of cloud, right? So we built virtualization technology that is hardware independent, that works with hyperscalers, that works with cloud service providers, with OEM partners, et cetera. So we built a robust ecosystem of IHVs, ISVs, hardware vendors, right? So that's the strength that VMware brings to the table. On the other hand, Broadcom has a very strong history of innovation in the semiconductor space, but over the last decade, Broadcom has done a lot of investment in the infrastructure software space, right? Whether it's the mainframe software, whether it's the enterprise security software, and the cloud infrastructure software, which is what VMware brings in, was kind of the culmination of truly establishing their footprint in the infrastructure software space, right? So, and the Broadcom culture is one focused on extreme clarity of focus, right? We truly focus on what is the most critical thing our customers want, where the market wants, create a sustainable market and franchise leadership for the company, and then focus heavily on R&D investment, right? If you look at Broadcom's 10K filing, you'll see that we spend over close to 15%. Right now, it's around $7.5 billion out of our revenue directly on R&D. It's one of the highest, if not the highest, when it comes to the industry, right? So there's extreme focus on putting money back into driving fast-paced innovation and giving the clarity of focus for the business divisions. So that's what the two companies bring. So we truly feel that VMware becoming part of Broadcom is helping us really march towards a faster and accelerated pace of innovation, but really focused on what is more critical to the market, right? So when it comes to what changed, to make this change happen, right, to get that clarity of focus, to simplify our route to market, our offer and product strategy, we had to make some fundamental business transformations when we became part of Broadcom. And it was around the 4 key areas that I'm going to go through, right? Number one, if people have followed VMware, right, over the last 20 years, when we did a fast pace of innovation, the way we did it was having independent business entities that focused on very specific components of the cloud infrastructure software, right? We have vSphere, our compute virtualization. We had vSAN, vSphere plus vSAN, the HCI capability that we bring, software-defined storage. We had NSX as a business entity driving software-defined networking. And then we had the vRealize, what we were calling ARIA automation and operations for the management and automation layer. And all of these were different business entities, right? And all of these had to come together to create a single VMware Cloud Foundation stack. Now, while it worked to a certain extent, we couldn't really move fast where the components were working in and of itself, but there was not a lot of focus in terms of building and making the component natively integrated into a private cloud platform or a full stack software-defined data center, right? So that was the biggest thing that we did on day one when we became part of Broadcom. We brought all of these business entities together under a single business division. So it kind of shows the focus, right? So if you want to create a product, you need to have complete control and accountability and ownership of that product under a single business division. And that's what the genesis of the VMware Cloud Foundation business division was. So it has the compute, the network, the storage, the management, automation, operations, all under a single business division. So single engineering team, single product and marketing team, single go-to-market team, and single global support team and professional services team, all under the same business division, right? So it can show that what it brings from a clarity and accountability perspective, your single job is to create this full stack platform. That's it, right? So that's number one, and it's a big, big thing. Number two was building that integrated product. While we have done a pretty good job, I would say, of creating vSphere, vSAN, NSX, ARIA automation, and operations, there are a bit of like seams that have broken, right? They don't look and feel like a single product, right? There are 20 different single sign-ons to get in there. The cert management is different. The identity and access management is different. The lifecycle management at the vCenter is different from SDDC manager, et cetera, right? So quite a few challenges that we've seen our customers repeatedly tell us, right? So our job, and we announced it at Explore Las Vegas a few weeks back, is to truly make the product look, feel, act, and behave like one, right? So that is where VMware Cloud Foundation with our 9.0 release really makes that happen, right? So we just announced that at Vegas, and we're going to continue to put more innovations in the next few weeks when we announce more innovations in VCF and the advanced services at Barcelona in the next couple of weeks. So that was the second focus, right? Build a single integrated product with a single software release for all of the components. So when you see 9, you're going to no longer have an independent vSphere update, a vSAN update, NSX update, ARIA automation, everything the latest and greatest enterprise-grade software for compute, network, storage, automation, and orchestration, all will be built into a single software release, right? So that's the second key thing that we have done. And as we do that, all of the functionality will be natively integrated into the platform from an infrastructure operations perspective, from a consumption layer perspective, et cetera. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go into a bit more detail here, was one of the feedback that we got from our customers and partners where, hey, while we provided a lot of flexibility and choice for our customers, in a way, it was a bit too much flexibility, right? It's like our 401k for people who have 401k. When you provide a lot of choices, there is research done that people just shy away from making the right decisions. So give very specific choices that is best from an outcome perspective, and we make a better decision. So we got a lot of feedback from our customers and partners to say, while the flexibility and choice is great, it makes it hard for them to know what is the value of this particular SKU that you're showing, right? And how do I compare this price point and the feature functionality with another SKU that looks similar but has slight difference, right? So we had around 8,964 SKUs for the cloud infrastructure software. I'm not kidding, right? And we had 168 different bundling and offers of that. So a lot of choice, but extremely complex to do business with, right? So we drastically simplified that into what customers have been truly looking at VMware for over the last 20 years, which is provide me an awesome compute platform, which is vSphere, with the right operations capability on top of that. Or we are going to be a true strategic IT partner with you and give me a full cloud infrastructure platform, right, with everything built in. And that is our VMware Cloud Foundation. So that is the 2 foundational offers, but we made sure we built a bunch of advanced services on top of that we have already been working on, so our customers can deploy this on top of our platform, right? And the most important thing is we made sure that we have license and portability entitlement built into the product, which means that our customers still have the flexibility to deploy it anywhere they want, on-premise, at the edge, with our hyperscalers, with the cloud service providers, et cetera. So extreme portability in terms of the way you want to deploy, but a very consistent experience and consistent platform no matter where you deploy, right? So pretty big transition and shift. And the final thing is we truly want to focus on customer success. So we built in a lot of value-added services and also incentive programs and tools that are provided free for our customers to help understand what are the functionalities, create an adoption plan and a success plan to take to actually deploy all of those functionalities so we can truly get the value that they paid for, right? Especially with some of the changing from a perpetual to subscription model, we want to make sure our customers truly understand what's built in and help them get the first step in, and then provide a lot of these professional services either via Broadcom or through our partners. So the Broadcom Advantage program that we have is one of the critical ways that we work through our ecosystem partners to provide professional services. So those are the 4 big changes that we did. Any questions?
How does VVF fit into this framework of unified experience and that stuff?
Yeah, you're leading me right there. So, so when I said 2 offers, right? So one is the private cloud offer, as we all know, VMware Cloud Foundation offer. But as you folks know, not everybody requires a full private cloud stack, right? So a lot of our customers are still vSphere customers who have VROps kind of a capability, right? And for them, the right product is vSphere Foundation. So a lot of mid-sized customers, people who have one data center and don't truly need a private cloud, for them, the vSphere Foundation is the right choice, right? Obviously, we would love for our customers to be a private cloud deployment customers and get us to be the strategic IT partner, but we have providing that flexibility and choice. So the vSphere Foundation includes vSphere, it includes vCenter, and the vSphere is the enterprise version, right? With runtime Kubernetes built in and all of the capabilities that DRS, vMotion, all of that capabilities built in, as well as the ARIA operations kind of capability with log insights, with the typical lifecycle management that you need to do. So that's what vSphere Foundation is. And both of these are available for everyone.
Then? Is that true?
What is that?
Doesn't have vSAN?
It does have vSAN built in, like 100 gig per core, which is like, I would say, entry starter kit.
Okay, I got you.
And then you can have add-on services on top of that. You can get 1 TB per core of vSAN as an add-on service. Whereas VCF comes with vSAN 1 TB per core, which satisfies pretty much 80 to 90% of the workload requirements.
Can any customer buy either edition here?
Yeah.
VCF or VVF? No
Absolutely.
limitations on who can buy what?
No, yeah. So, and we had to put out a blog by our CEO on that because there was some confusion in the market to say, hey, obviously the sales folks really, when they talk to our strategic customers, they're strategic for a reason, right? Because they're strategic because they want us to be IT partners with them to build a full stack private cloud. So the focus for them is to showcase the value of VCF. But if they want vSphere Foundation, absolutely.
So I love this direction, and definitely the consolidation of that many SKUs makes it tons easier for resellers, distributors, customers to understand how to sell these things. I mean, I think about Microsoft, and Copilot was like 3 SKUs, and now it's over 50 SKUs, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole sprawl that happens, but there is a need for that because there are different things. Like I hear what you're saying, and you just brought up operations. What if a customer already has an operations tool set that they want to use? They don't want all of that other stuff. They want vSphere, right? I mean, is there any kind of roadmap or anything that where there may be some adjustments in terms of price or solution to help them with that?
Yeah. See, this is everything as any business would do. We figured out the best minimal viable critical product line offer that our customers want, and we focus on that. But then we look at the market, get feedback from our customers and partners, and if you feel like, hey, there's truly a big gap in our portfolio that our customers want, we will make that happen. And you'll see us making some changes as we hit our new fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends this month. So when we get into the new fiscal year, you'll see some of the changes that we are making based on some customer feedback, right? So this is not something that, this is it, you're never going to get anything more or less. This is what we felt satisfies 95%, 99% of the use cases, but obviously there are some customers who may just want like, hey, give me just vSphere, I don't want anything else. Okay, we will evaluate, and if there's a market for that, if there's a strong demand for that, we'll come back with something that makes sense.
An engineering question, when you talked about VMware Cloud Foundations as a platform, what is the platform of VMware Cloud Foundations? Because I'm used to 3 different appliances that I log into.
That's pretty much what the next 2 hours is going to be, Nathan. So it's going to be all about what does that platform truly means, how are we integrating things, what are the capabilities. We'll have a demo to truly see the look and feel of how this product actually works. So hold that thought for a couple of minutes, but I'll touch upon it a bit as I end my session.
I would kind of like to expand on his question though, right? So I think everybody in the room here agrees that private cloud is the right way to architect your on-premises infrastructure. VCF is one way to do that, but then there's the fact that there's plenty of other integrations and providers out there that could integrate directly with your platform. You mentioned, VMware famously being Cloud Switzerland in the past. Do you intend to maintain that openness to integration and partnership with other vendors to enable customers who want a private cloud, but maybe not a VCF-based?
Absolutely. If you look at our strategy, like when we talk about the consumption layer, it's a pretty open ecosystem, right? So we have the typical API ways of integrating. We work with third party to test and validate, whether it's at the hardware level with pretty much all OEM vendors, whether it's at the software ISV level, pretty much whether it's for things like private AI, whether it's things for data services, etc. Pretty much we are heavily focused on still maintaining and broadening the ecosystem. That's literally why I put in the first slide up front to say, hey, those three things will still continue to be there. Having that partner community, whether it's like as a route to market or whether it's a co-engineered solution development, will still continue to be there. We are doubling down on that. But we also are trying to kind of simplify the business so that we don't focus on too many things. There's no such thing as focusing on too many things. You lack focus then, right? So you got to truly focus. And that's a hard thing. It's what I call innovation through subtraction. It's one of the hardest things for any company to do, right? Innovation happens when people think we keep adding more and more things, but there's an art to like figuring out what is the best thing to do without adding too many things. And that's where I think is where we are trying to focus on, right? So from a VCF, the VMware Cloud Foundation business division strategy, as I said, our job is to provide our customers with the best private cloud platform in the industry, bar none. Okay, that's number one. Now, I want to be very clear when I say private cloud, I mean, just like typical terminologies in the cloud space or enterprise software space, if I ask what private cloud is here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get 5 different definitions of private cloud. So we have our own redefinition of what we mean by private cloud that I want to be extremely clear, right? Private cloud doesn't mean on-premise only, okay? So private cloud is for us more of a cloud operating model that provides a very consistent infrastructure platform that our customers can deploy wherever they want. On-premise in their own data center and manage it themselves, at the edge, or as a managed service through our hyperscalers that we already partner with, or hundreds of CSP partners that we have, right? But it's the same platform, which is very, very critical. That wasn't the case when we were an independent company, right? Our customers and our partners had a choice of picking and choosing and creating their own platform. Beautiful flexibility, but the experience was very different when you moved from one to go to AVS, to go to GCVE, to go to AWS, OCVS, or to go to a CSP, right? So it's a fundamental shift. And that's why the license portability is so critical. So you can take a license today that you've deployed on-prem, go to a CSP and say, hey, I want you to provide managed services on VCF. You're going to get the same VCF stack with them. That's how we have worked the engineering thing, right? And they don't need to pay for the license. They only need to pay for whatever managed services value that the CSP or hyperscaler is providing. It's a big, big shift that we are seeing. That's why I call this ubiquitous, right? It's the same platform deployed at the edge, on-premise, via our hyperscalers or CSP.
Now, a long time ago, 14 years ago, this was the goal was to get to ubiquitous workload substrate.
Yeah.
And what I've just heard you say is that has arrived.
Yeah.
Now, we'll have a lot of questions about this, but I think the basic example you gave, the one of where you have a different CSP, whether it's VMC on AWS or you've got an Azure VMware solution, or you've been doing it, as you say, in your own data center.
Yeah.
There's a portion of that you've been doing with VMware's Cloud Foundation in your data center. Now you want to move this to another alternative.
Yeah.
You also stated that the experience would be, I'm not sure if you used the word consistent or if you said identical.
Consistent.
Okay, because identical is
hard, right?
That's very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not even managing your own thing. When you go to AVS, Microsoft is doing the management. When you go to GCVE, Google, that's a Google's first-party managed service, right? So it's not identical, but the underlying things that Google uses to create the Google Cloud VMware engine is going to be the same software bits that our customers were using to create their own VMware Cloud Foundation. So that's what we mean. And the same goes with the CSP too, right? So, and that is, I feel, is very critical for us. It helps us create the same software release, It helps us create the same kind of capabilities and release it around the same time. Obviously, there are some disclaimers for each one of these, right? Google needs to test it with their hardware instances, make sure it works. So the moment we release a VCF on-premise, it's not available next day on Google, right? It'll be plus or minus 6 months or so. Yeah. But in most of the cases, it should be a consistent service.
Do you perceive VMware as the arbiter of what's considered it's ready for you to say, yes, now you have a consistent experience? So the drift between release and availability, whether that you call that a general availability or whatever terminology, is it VMware's role to because you had that fourth section, which to me spoke to like, you took the land, adopt, expand, renew, and the plan, integrate, monitor, optimize, that kind of customer success coin. Yeah. And you're also now solving for the advisory portion of this, but you are also bringing in these advisory partners for professional services.
Correct.
So they would tell them, yes, I know you want to move this portion of your estate from private, cloud, quote unquote, in your data center. Now you want to do this on a VCF that's not in your data center. Yeah. This is the time frame. These are the services we're going to add along with it. Is VMware involved in that conversation, or are they, letting the partner make those choices? It's
both. Okay. So it's a jointly. See, at the end of the day, it's our partners' managed service. Okay. Whether it's a Google, whether it's a Microsoft, whether it's an Oracle, whether it's a Rackspace, right? It's their service, so they pretty much own the experience of that service. But obviously, we own the underlying bits that we work with them and provide to them, right? So we provide them the bits, we make sure it's tested and validated, but they are the ones who own that and drive it with their customers. So that's how it works.
You had also mentioned Broadcom has capabilities in professional services as well. Yeah. So could you speak to what's the depth of that, as compared to, say, like an Accenture, a Deloitte, a large GSI? How committed is Broadcom to maintaining that headcount and that purpose? Is that for smaller partners, or do you see that as augmenting larger partners as well?
It's an augmentation strategy, right? So, Hawk has been public about this, Hawk Tan, our CEO, right? We do have a pretty extensive professional services that are there in each of our geos, right? So, and their expertise is around VMware infrastructure software, right? Yeah. Design guidance, we have transformation consulting teams that provide design guidance. We have implementation, solution architects who will architect a best practice design. We have implementation who will deploy the product for you. And obviously, we have global support, right? So we have a pretty comprehensive professional services and a global support team. Now, the idea for us over a long period of time is to make sure our partners own the majority of professional services. We truly want our partners to drive that. Yeah. And we are in the business of creating infrastructure software. That's our end goal, right? But it's not going to happen overnight. We want to make sure we have a good, compelling set of partners who have the right skills, the right talent from a VMware Cloud Foundation perspective, right? They have a pretty big knowledge about the entire IT, like people like Accenture, Deloitte, et cetera, right? They have a pretty broad professional services, way more than what VMware or Broadcom can provide. So we really want to work with the GSIs, the RSIs, the RSPs, et cetera, to make sure we can do the knowledge transfer. We can provide what good looks like from a private cloud perspective for VCF, and then slowly see how we can closely work together or transition it to them. So that's actively our strategy and plan. Any other questions? This is great. I like it rather than just me going over the slides. Roger is saying you're way out of time. All right. It's the story of my life. All right. So, and the last part I mentioned, right, like integrated and resilient. I've honed on this pretty much. I'll touch upon our
VCF at the edge seems to be a big solution for
nobody's
a small environment.
Yeah? Deploy a heavy VCF at the edge. When I say VCF at the edge, customers have an option of taking vSphere, like a 2-node cluster VCF, and deploy it at the edge, right? With an orchestration system, when you have 10,000 edge sites and you want to have a centralized orchestration system, you can do that. So that's what I meant. Obviously, nobody's expecting like a heavy VCF data center deployment to be moved to the edge, right? So, but VCF right-sized for the edge is what we are referring to here. So And the last part is we want to still make sure that there are flexible deployment options, right? This is another thing. When we became part of Broadcom, we had to make a lot of changes to our route to market. And the reasons for that is the conversation that we've been having, because every route to market was different. The service was different. The experience was different. The pricing was different. The bundle and offer was different. So it was like an N-by-N matrix to figure out, hey, what does this mean for our customers, right? So we needed a decoder ring. So what we did, if there's one thing that you can see, is standardization and consistency. No matter which route to market you go to, you're going to get that consistent platform and a consistent experience. And for the route to market, it's more of a predictable, profitable revenue stream, which is what our disties and resellers want, our managed service providers want, right? Like, make me work with you worthwhile my time and revenue, right? And let me differentiate myself through the value-added services that I can provide on top of your platform, right? That's truly our pretty much route-to-market strategy. So on the hyperscaler, the biggest shift, as I mentioned, is the same consistent platform, but with license portability. So you can move from on-prem to a public cloud, move from public cloud back to on-prem, move from one public cloud to another. You get that choice using the same license that you have, right? That's the beauty. I don't think any industry vendor in the infrastructure space, at least that I know of, has this kind of flexibility and consistency. That's number one. The same with managed services. We have what we call 100 pinnacle partners across the globe that satisfies 80 to 90% of what managed services our customers need. And they also provide that on top of VCF. And the rest we do through what we call cloud commerce managers or aggregation managed service providers, right? So we have a pretty robust set of managed service partners across the globe. And then with OEMs, yeah.
Can I have a question here? The CSP, do you plan to do something like with the public hyperscalers that you can bring your own license to CSP?
BYOL is across the board, right?
Correct.
So yeah, sorry, bring your own license entitlement. So that is absolutely not just for hyperscalers. It's both for hyperscalers, our managed services folks too.
It's interesting you called out 100 and there's 300 partners.
So there's 100 what we call pinnacle partners,
Yeah.
What we do is we do co-selling with them, right? So we have our account teams that actively look to jointly work with them, with a customer who wants a managed service. So those are what we call, it's all part of the Broadcom Advantage program, but there's a slice of that, which is what I call pinnacle partners, and that's the 100 number there. But we have a lot more other managed service providers that still provide managed services. They're just not pinnacle partners, if you will. And the engineered solutions, again, OEM. I know there's been a lot of news on this, right? So again, the idea behind OEM was for us to create co-engineered, jointly developed solution, right? So what we don't want is like, hey, take your hardware, stick our software, go at it, right? What's the value, right? Like anybody can do that. We want to make sure that with every OEM vendor, we actually build co-engineered solution, and then they can differentiate why their co-engineered solution is better than the next OEM vendor. What kind of value-added services can they provide, right? So two parts to that. Again, standardization from the VCF stack, but also co-engineered, so 1 + 1 is better than 2, which is what truly our customers want. So that's kind of the big difference, and you see pretty much all of the OEM vendors, the top OEM vendors that we have new contractual agreements that we are working heavily with. And finally,
that same license portability applies in those systems. So if you went from one logo to the other logo under the OEM, umbrella, your license is your license.
That's the plan, so that we can create. We don't have it operationalized yet on that because each of us are working on.
I want to tease out that word one more time. Plan. That is the plan. That is not. That is the.
It's not. Yeah, it's in motion.
In motion.
Because we haven't built a co-engineered solution with each one of them, right? We have like VxRail with Dell right now, but we haven't built one with NEC yet, right? So we have one with Lenovo. So that's the idea. So as we build the co-engineered
completion of all those logos under OEM umbrella, you would then say, we now have achieved the license portability. That brand pledge is now consistent. You've already established it's consistent for the hyperscaler, yes?
Yeah.
And you're saying it's consistent for the CSP. It'll be eventually consistent for the OEM. And then I think you're going to the Disney next, so I'll stop.
Yeah. So see, just to be very clear, license entitlement, it's written in the EULA of the product itself. Our customers, the day they buy, they're entitled to license portability, right? They are free to take, frankly, even outside of this. If they want to go and deploy this in Equinix tomorrow, they are free to go and do that, right? So we are not barring any customer to do that. Like we haven't validated and tested it to make sure it works 100%, right? So, but with these folks that we're talking about, we truly will make sure it's validated, it's tested. But it doesn't mean that the customers can't take it anywhere. That's again the beauty of license portability, right? And the last part is, around value-added services. And with disties and resellers, the big part is we are working with our disties to not only for them to be distributors, but also support service providers like L1 and L2 support service, right? Again, that is where they can provide more value added beyond just distribution of software. So we are working with a heavy set of partners, and we have a very, very broad range of tens of thousands of resellers that we work with to resell our software too, right? So, and wherever possible, wherever they have the skill set, we want them to provide L1, L2 services too. Again, shows kind of our mentality of Broadcom. We truly want to build a very robust set of partner ecosystem, but we also want to make sure these partners are well equipped to provide their value on top of VCF.
So basically what you're saying is that you plan to build in distribution L1 and L2 support. So the distribution will own that service, or the partners who buy and sell?
The disties.
The disties.
Yeah. And there are going to be very few of them, right? Because we can't like have tens of thousands. There's going to be quality control. There's going to be enablement, skill set, all of that.
So the L3 support will reside in the Broadcom.
Yeah.
L1, L2 will sit in disti.
Yeah.
Or in CSP, right?
Yeah, CSP also will provide their own support, right? When they provide managed services, they're responsible for the SLO.
And when you do you plan any like a program that you will onboard partners to this L1, L2?
Oh, it's part of the Broadcom Advantage program. That's our big umbrella program for the partners. Within that, there are different levels, right? Like Pinnacle, Premier, and these are meant for CSPs. These are meant for disties. These are meant for value-added resellers. These are meant for OEMs. Pretty much all of our partners. Within that, based on the kind of service that they provide and the kind of partnership that they have with us, they get specific incentives, upfront discounts, all of that stuff, so that they can actually use that to provide the services that we talked about.
A lot of thought has gone into the go-to-market, right? It's very clear and concise. You've been able to answer all our questions. But all the SKUs and new go-to-market that you talked about were released almost a year ago without this clear go-to-market behind it, and basically customers being told, you have less choice, pick one of these two, without them clearly understanding why these were the options and what value they could get out of them. Do you feel like Broadcom jumped the gun at all? Do you worry about perceptions and needing to repair them among your customer base? What's the take there?
Yeah, 100%. And I've publicly gone on to say that we could have done a better job of communicating this. It was a hell lot of change for our customers, for our partners, for us as VMware, to be very clear, right? So we absolutely believed in the strategy, and I'm particularly very, very excited that this is the right strategy. It makes our life a lot clearer to focus on the product that we need to build to work. But yes, I think we could have done a bit better job of communicating that, talking about the intention. We have done that internally, but it's hard for everybody to see that, right? So we've gone on a roadshow with Hawktan, our CEO, literally attending these roadshows with CEOs, with CIOs, with VP of Infra and Ops across all of our strategic accounts, corporate accounts, with our CSPs across the globe. We've done this around like 40 plus cities, and we are still doing that, where we are sitting with them individually, one to few, one to many, articulating this, showcasing our roadmap, listening to them, providing feedback, etc. And what you are saying right now in 30 minutes is what we've been having at the end of that conversation. It's like, okay, now I get it. Now I get why you're doing that. Not saying that they're saying, oh, they're jumping up and down with all the changes from perpetual to subscription, right? That's again a change from an OpEx model that they had to plan and prepare. But now that we have a year under the belt, you can see a lot of our customers. This time I was at Explore Las Vegas, right? I had like maybe 24 customer meetings. Not a single one of them was around pricing, okay? So it shows, but that wasn't the case in December, January, when I was having customer conversation, because that's what all the news was. Hey, Broadcom is changing the pricing model. We have moved from perpetual to subscription, which, to be very clear, for the last 2 years as part of Broadcom, as part of VMware, we've been telling our customers that this is our strategy. We're moving from perpetual to subscription, but we still had this 8,964 SKUs. And so unless we had to make that shift, customers, it's human behavior, right? When you have the choice and you don't know that you need to transition, it takes a lot longer. So we had to make that change so we can focus our R&D innovation on that clear set of products. And that caused some disruption, absolutely. So we could have done a better job communicating. That said, right now we feel we are in a really, really good space with our customers and with our partners who understand our strategy. We are jointly working with them. And all the programs that I mentioned about, I'm just going to jump to the last slide in the interest of time, is truly to say that we know that technology and the platform is one part of the puzzle. And I think all you folks, right? It's always about people, process, and product, right? So there's a lot of focus on the product that I mentioned, but we are intensely focused on the people and the process side too, right? Because for our customers to go from vSphere to VCF is a journey. It's not like an easy button they're going to click tomorrow and voila, they're going to be a private cloud platform provider for their end users, right? So we completely understand that. So we want to meet the customers where they are in their journey to cloud transformation. So we have created things like private cloud maturity assessment, taking all the best practices of customers who have deployed private cloud, working with the professional services, working with industry analysts, working with the partners to create what does good enterprise private cloud looks like. What is the architectural design best practices? What is the maturity level of our customers on where they are? Customize that for them and create a very prescriptive design guidance based on their use cases and the technical outcomes that they want to get and the business outcomes they want to get. And then work with our partners who can provide professional services if they want so, or with the Broadcom professional services team, or they can do DIY with our validated solutions and best practices, right? So that's what this private cloud maturity and optimization tool and program is. And this is available free for all our customers, right? Number two, we have a 6-week program called the Jumpstart Workshop, which every VCF customer with around 500K of ABV that we call annual value is entitled to get with our transformation consulting team, where they will sit, they'll create an adoption plan, a success plan, and very tailored to the customer's outcome. And it can be a 6-month, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year plan based on how the customer wants to deploy that, right? And then big changes to the certification. First of all, every customer gets free on-demand learning library for VCF. Every person, I must say, not just customer, right? But we also have made sure that every VCF customer is entitled to in-person learning and instructor-led design programs, which is we have a 5-day workshop that they get, and they can bring their employees in to get trained on VCF. And we have changed our certification program, the VCPs and VCAPs, to be focused on VCF as a platform, but specialization for individual components too, right? So a whole lot of changes, but you can see a common thread around all of these, right? Simplification, standardization, consistency, heavy focus on getting the R&D investment to build that single private cloud platform and help our customers adopt and consume what they purchase from us. So that's kind of the thought process from a business strategy perspective. So I know we heard at the end, but hopefully that set the stage before we go into the technical details.